All right, this is the final part of the March on postmortem. Finally, we'll be looking at the executive summary as well as soft skills. The executive summary is the first part of your paper, which is why you should be deconstructing it last. Refresh yourself, understand what information was crucial, what you decided to get apart, because the executive summary is meant to be sandwiching it. The executive sandwich plays on the idea that we as human beings have this weird thing in our brain where we are more likely to remember data given to us at the beginning and then at the end. We're not so great with lots of nitty-gritty in the middle. That's why, for the description of the event, this paper really well executes that. First and most, this talks about the core details that the judge needs to know. How long it is, what the goal is, who's doing it, etc. Then it goes into those bullet points. We're talking about the objectives. We've got key metrics. If you'll notice, everything's under 5 words or less. I think it's actually under 4 words or less. The order matches up, so raising money goes to donations raised, engagement, organic, etc. It's clean. It's not really using the timelines that we talked about earlier, but it is establishing a numerical order to things, and they're building upon each other. We're also using campaign target market. Once again, we've got those high quality traits. There is a slight bit of revamping so that it fits better. We're using a different bar color here. This is a fun little tip that you can do because it helps to clearly delineate what's going on. Our brain also really likes imaginary boxes, and it creates an imaginary box which helps to constrain a piece of information. It makes it easier to understand. Additionally, the reason why we have bullet points up here, but not so much down here, is because you've primed your brain to understand text, and after you get through this much, that's kind of when your brain is going to start losing interest. So we switch to list formats. We switch to more of a graphic-heavy thing. I've already said that I don't think bolding is a really smart idea. The executive summary is a great place to use it, however, because you want these numbers, these 4 numbers, or I guess 4 in my case, it's normally just 3 numbers, to be instantly referenceable back. This is the thing that while your judge is listening to your presentation and they have their paper in front of you, this is the thing that they're going to look back on. So you want to make sure that this is basically a cheat sheet to understanding your presentation. And then finally, that last bit of paragraph nonsense is talking about the ethos of the campaign. If this is like logic and operations, this is the heart and the soul. This is where you're doing a little bit of brown nosing almost. Some things I would change here. I would number the objectives and the key metrics so that it's clear which goes to which. I mean, it's clear right now, but it would have just made it a little bit more clear. Additionally, I hate the pie chart. I think it looks unprofessional. I would have tweaked a little bit. So the overall score I got for my executive summary was a 10 out of 10 at all 3 stages of competition, if I recall correctly. And then I give myself a 10 out of 10 as well. The overall impact, the executive sandwich, it just looks good. I think that it was a pretty artful execution, and I based a lot of it in psychology, so I know for a fact that it's easier to understand and comprehend. My bus driver in high school, actually, I didn't know this until after I was ranting about my paper for a while to him. He was a retired marketing director, and he was the one who actually taught me about the executive sandwich. And I'm very grateful to him for that because my executive summary in my first drafts absolutely sucked. Do think that certain graphics could have been better. Like I said, the pie was not fantastic. I would have switched certain bullet points to be numbers. Additionally, Dr. Martens is known for their iconic yellow stitching on their boots. I wish I had incorporated more of it into my executive summary. It shows up throughout the paper, and it's one of those red threads, if you will, or yellow threads, I guess, in terms of design. But incorporating design further into the beginning of your paper can set the tone. And next time, I would have waited until I had gotten a couple ideas done with the paper, but I wouldn't have waited until everything was done. I waited until Basically, everything from visuals to design to content to text was in my paper. And I regret that because at that point, you get into the idea, the headspace, where you think everything is equally important. It's not. While you are writing, while you are creating your paper, go through and start doing bullet points. Even if they're just randomly thrown on a page, even if they look sloppy, even if they look messy, that way you can boil it down into the most important pieces and then expand on it. It would really help you to identify patterns sooner. The rest of the rubric covers soft skills. These aren't things that are super easy and concrete, but they're more an overall presentation of your paper, even though that's literally a piece of the rubric, but whatever. Theme and originality are really closely tied together, but there is a key difference. Theme is talking about activities specifically. I got a 6 out of 6. I'd give myself a 6 out of 6. Theme is looking at how well the activities tie in together. This is where that idea of having those 3 activities that speak for your campaign is super important. Media, I got an 8 out of 10. I would give myself a 5 out of 10, if not lower. That's generous, actually. 2/3 of your paper's activities should have a graphic, and I did not hit that mark. They were high quality, they were appropriate, but there's just not enough of them. Originality, 8 out of 8. I'd give myself an 8 out of an 8. While theme is talking about how well everything ties together, originality is, are you doing things that are unorthodox? Are you stepping outside of your comfort zone? It's very difficult to learn in a written presentation on how to be original, but I will say this. If you are using ChatGPT, or if you are using AI, or if you are sourcing ideas from other people, you're gonna get a low score on this. For group projects, this is super easy to fall into, where you start tweaking your ideas to fit what the other person wants. It's okay to push back. It's okay to do a bunker scenario and to figure out, okay, what are some of the downfalls of this idea that you have? You can't make both of you happy all the time. You need to approach this as in, what's the most original? If you have 2 activities that are way too disconnected from your theme, not only is your theme score going to suffer, but your originality score is going to as well. Your originality is looking beyond activities. It's looking at how you approach everything. That was a bit of a rant, but. And finally, career. This is actually professionalism. I got a 5 out of 5. I'd give myself a 4 out of 5. I think that the way that some of the visuals interacted make it feel cheap. I think that there's a lot of paragraph usage. It's strong paper overall, but I know I can do better. And then for the overall performance, first of all, I got a 5 out of 5 out of this. I give myself a 5 out of 5. This is more looking at overall presentation, overall paper, overall performance. I think I did well. My final ICDC score for presentation, I did not do well. I had some personal stuff come up and that made me go off my game. But at least I know that they score it for the paper as well. I got a 5 out of 5 on that. So there we go. That puts the actual score at a 97 out of 100 for my paper. I would give myself an 85. That was the total of all my scoring before. I could do better. I know I can do better, but overall, it's a pretty decent paper. The 3 biggest takeaways are, I think that the overall visual impact of the paper says corporate. Having more of that visual appearance, especially for an IMC, when you're talking about marketing, you're talking about selling yourself, selling your ideas, you want it to look professional because the more visuals you have, the less text you have, or at least the more spaced out your text is and the more impactful it feels. I would include more marketing key samples. That was the biggest thing that missed the mark for me. And then finally, I had so many walls of text that it weakened my paper. My paper was strong, the content was good, I know that. But you have to make it skimmable. It's kind of weird. You're trying to balance. You don't want your judge to skim at all. You want them to read everything, but then also it has to be easily readable so that after they've read it through an entire time, second time they read, they can skim through and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember that. This was important. That's good to know. So that was it. That was the overall first paper postmortem. I am going to try to get a couple more of them done today. We will be doing a variety of different events. If you are interested in submitting a paper, you can reach out to the Go for Glass official gmail.com, or you can reach out to our mascot account. That'll be Tomes of Lore on our Go for Glass Discord server. We do have room for more papers. I unfortunately do have to stop the offer of free mentoring because we are booked up. However, if you are going to, if you are doing a paper this year and are interested, we will trade free mentoring sessions for the right for us to, at the end of the season, use your paper. With all of that being said, this is the general format. I probably won't be as talkative in the future as I learn how to be more concise, but yeah, thank you so much for tuning in.